All right, Jalen, we are back after a week away, and it has been a busy, busy week in the association. We're coming to you 2 days after the draft. We have had some big, major trades, some big contract extensions. Um, we'll have another week, pretty much all basketball here before the NBA sputters out of its off season in a few weeks and it becomes all football stuff. So, Jalen, just to start, we're going to talk about one of the teams we've talked about probably as much as anyone else, and that's the Atlanta Hawks, who just made a
Goodness.
trade, which while it wasn't the exact trade I'd proposed, I have said I like the Murray, essentially Dejounte Murray, Brandon Ingram swap. I thought it made sense for both sides. Now, Brandon Ingram wasn't in this trade. They didn't even have to give him up in this one. But Dejounte Murray going to the Pelicans for two first-round picks. It's a Lakers pick next year and a Bucks or Pelicans pick in 27. Larry Nance Jr. and Dyson Daniels, who's an interesting young player who's shown some real upside for the Pelicans. I think he's kind of gotten buried with all the wings there. Jalen, let me just start with this. We've talked about this a lot the last year or two. Dejounte Murray finally traded. What is your reaction to this move? And who do you like it better? Do you like this for the Pelicans? I guess because they're the one getting this big player.
I mean, obviously, I don't like it for the Pelicans. There's more problems in the West, Colby. How do I like this at all?
No, but I'm saying you
You're
think it's
asking,
a
I
good
mean, has
trade
a
for them.
Pelican?
You don't like it for the Timberwolves, but I'm just saying like
Oh, yeah.
I think it makes sense.
It does make sense, yes. My question now becomes, and I texted it to you, is what's going to happen with this whole BI rumor and everything? I can't wait for us to talk about that because if they can figure that part out, because like you said at first, they have them still for now and
Yeah,
everything. So I wonder how they're going to come around and fix that up and everything like that. But with Zion being inconsistent and you have a hopefully a consistent scorer in DeJounte Murray. He'll be at least there. He's going to be better
yeah,
than an aging CJ McCollum. So it,
yeah.
it definitely it is a better scenario for sure for the Pelicans. I agree, especially for picks and giving up, aging Larry Nance. And I will say that is interesting of the interesting piece of Dyson Daniels. But besides that, I think the Pelicans did win this one. I agree.
Yeah.
It's a surprise for me though how little the Hawks were seeking, I guess, in this case. I mean, unless they really think the Lakers are going to have that high of a pick next year.
I mean, it's two picks. I think Daniels is the key. I mean, I do like Daniels, and he's still. I mean, he was just got drafted 2 years ago, so he's still really young. Um, I think there is a lot of upside there. So I think he's a good piece, and he could potentially thrive. He's obviously, like I said, the Pelicans have a ton of depth. He was kind of, I mean, he was getting minutes every night, but he'll certainly get a lot more minutes with the Hawks, in a bigger role. Um, I love it for the Pelicans, like you said. They also, and even CJ McCollum's obviously older. He's not what he used to be. Even at his prime, he was never really a true point guard. So like this is for the first time. I think it'll be interesting to see Dejounte Murray. Like the Pelicans needed someone like him, a set the table point guard. I think it's a great fit. And like I said, I liked him more than Trae Young for them because he's a little better. He's a better defender. Um, and they have some great defenders, obviously, with Herb Jones as the lead defender. Troy Murphy's very good. Zion is a little questionable defensively. McCollum's not a good defender. So I think it fits them very well. For
Yeah.
Atlanta, my first reaction to seeing this trade, because when I said before, as we talked about the possible BI Murray swap, um, it does make me feel like they're more likely to still trade Trae Young after this. Like this is not a move to me that says, all right, we're retooling around Trae Young to compete. Like you got one interesting young guy, some picks, and Larry Nance, who's like he's fine, whatever. I mean, he's had a nice career. He's a role player and he's past his prime, but he's still a rotational body. Um, you just made the number one pick, picked Risa Shea, which we'll get into the draft in just a second. But I don't know. And this to me does not feel like a trade that you make if you're trying to compete around Trae Young. This makes me think that Atlanta might not be done. And I think that, by the way, is probably the right move. Um, so I totally get that they're doing that. I mean, they had to do this. Props, credit to Atlanta. A lot of teams finally breaking themselves out of the grouping that they've been in. We'll get to some of the others later that we've just been begging and begging for them to make trades that make sense for the direction of their team, and they're finally picking a lane. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think Daniels can be very interesting. If I'm Atlanta, do they now move Trey and just say didn't work, made that one conference finals that one year, that was cool. Let's reboot it around Reese Shea, around Daniels, around Jalen Johnson, who I really like, and around and even Onyeka Kongwu to a lesser extent, he's still pretty young, and I think he's an interesting big, even though he's not great. Um, yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you agree with me on that, or do you still think they'll be running it back with Trey?
It's draft pick. I feel like they'll still run it back because that was what I was initially was saying last week was if they get this guy, you said that he was a spot up shooter. We saw the research. That was what they were saying in his background because we're not watching the
Good
France
defender.
games. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's a good defender.
So
It seems like people like him as a wing defender, 3-and-D kind of guy.
yeah. So I just think that this just helps support Trey Young, possibly. Maybe this is just a supporting piece for him. Um, I would be it'd be really hard for me to see Trey Young leave now that DeJounte is gone. It's very intriguing though because a lot of teams still show interest in Trey Young, is what you hear. So it's not like they're not saying no. It's gonna be interesting how the Hawks do this, man. I will say that because I I would run it back. I would still run it back with this rookie at least. I don't think he's going to be enough. I don't think this number one overall pick is going to be enough on his own to start the franchise all over. But if he still had Trey Young, I think they can at least still maintain or
Well,
slightly improve. You can see if he'll improve. I think they'll at least maintain now that the ball is going with one person. So that helps at least. You already know that Trey Young's going to be taking it down the court most of the time,
yeah,
and we're going to see how good the shooter of the French guy is.
yeah,
Of Zachary Bashir.
yeah, yeah. Zach Sachet. He's yeah. I mean, listen, I think Sachet will be. I would have picked him one. And when I was thinking about draft winners and losers, if we want to do that segment later, I kind of put Atlanta as a loser, but that's almost not fair. Just because he's not who I would have picked. That doesn't mean he won't be end up being good. I think he'll be solid. I just don't think the ceiling is as high as some of the other guys, but maybe feels a little safer. He does fit with Trey Young in theory, the defense and spot up shooting, as you said. So I don't know. I'll be fascinated to see what Reese Shea looks like. The rookie of the year, I would be interested to see. I don't know if you have it. I'm gonna look it up. I'm wondering who the rookie of the year betting favorite is, because like it could be anyone. Like this draft class can be so unpredictable. It's gonna be fascinating to see how that works out.
I would love for you to find it, and I would love to play the guessing game. All right, because I don't know it either. It would be interesting. I have a guess. I think I know that I have three guesses. I'm gonna give me three guesses.
All
Okay.
right. All right, let me give my first guess before I click on it, and then you give me some guesses. My guess would be that it's probably either Risa Shea um or Castle, maybe Stephon Castle from the Spurs, because I think he'll have the ball a lot on that team. But
Mhm.
I don't know. Who give me your guesses? I'll pull it up for you here.
I think it's gonna be Castle as well. I think he'll be up there. Obviously gonna put Rob Dillingham up there, and
All right, we'll get to that. What a moment.
give me Dalton Connect. Knowing the LA media, give me Dalton Connect. I think he'll be up there as well.
Interesting. All right, so Connect is pretty high to where he's drafted.
I knew it.
He's not at the top. So actually, no, it is. They're not expecting. I mean, it's the odds are pretty close. There's no like massive favorite, but it's actually Sar is the favorite. So it's the two French guys still that went 1-2, Risa and Sar. Sar is the favorite, plus 350, which is interesting because he's pretty raw offensively. But I guess I mean he is on the Wizards, so he'll probably certainly get a lot of opportunity. And I do
That's
think
true.
there's a lot of upside. I like Sar. I'd have picked him one probably, even though there were some concerns. So I thought that was worked out nicely for the Wizards. They have Risa Shea second, Castle third. The other French dude, Tijan Salon in fourth, and Reed Shepard fifth, Plain six, Connect seven. But Saloon, Shepard, Klingon connect all of the same odds. But it's Saar, Risa, Shea, Castle are the top three favorites.
So how far did Dillingham fall?
Dillingham he's plus 2,000. So he's, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's 11.
That's wild.
Which, I
And
mean,
that's reasonable though.
you got to think, though, like with Rookie of the Year, like the dudes that are on bad teams are also going to like get more playing time than Rob. So that's the thing with him. Like, like I think it was an excellent pick for the T Wolves if you want to just do this now. And then we can go back through the draft. I did not see that coming. That was shocking. Um, but I mean, it's not like I don't expect him to start. I think he'll play big minutes, but he's not I doubt he's gonna be starting out of the gate unless he just blows away expectations. Um, what was your reaction? I mean, I know we were texting, and then we'll go back through the top of the draft. But I mean, what was your reaction when the Wolves out of nowhere weren't supposed to pick till 27th, trade a 2030 swap and a 31 first, couple 11-year-olds for Rob Dillingham? Um, what was your reaction when you found out that this had happened?
Well, at first I was hyped. I'm not gonna lie. I'm completely hyped. It was a Kentucky guard going to the Wolves. I was calling it out, on the screen last time. That was something that I was saying. I was like, Wolves should get somebody. I don't think we're gonna get Rob Dillingham, but that would be nice. Um, because he was so far up. However, I think on top of all that, we managed to still also get the guy that we could talk about later. But right now, Rob Dillingham was a huge surprise. I did not see that coming. Uh, Especially when you told me how much we traded him for and everything. I was like, oh, snap. I thought the Spurs got him. And then you were like, nah, dude, you got him. And that was what really sparked the whole surprise there. Um, so completely, honestly, just completely surprised. It was awesome. It's a good night. I would like to say that start of the night, really exciting. Great to have Tim Conley there. That's what I really got. I think that Tim Conley needed a statue. It was a popular comment and everything. I definitely liked it. So it's yeah, it was a pretty good thing, Colby. Let's say, and not to say the bias in me and everything, because not only is it a Kentucky guard, but we also needed a scorer. I think that's the main thing here. He is a very aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, he's literally what, one or I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but whenever we were talking about like the offseason outlook, I mean, this is basically the player almost to a T that we described. You need a shot creating guard, another take some of the pressure off Anthony Edwards. It's literally Rob Dillingham. The ceiling is high. Rob Dillingham could end up being the best player in this draft. He could end up not being any. Now, listen, like I said, you could say that for pretty much anybody. And this is a interesting draft. No one really knows who's going to be the best player, but Rob has a chance because of the shot making, the athleticism, the speed off the dribble. He's not really where you want him to be as a facilitator, and his big concern is he's very small. I mean, he's like 6'1", 6'2", but it's even more like he's not even like 170 pounds. Like
He's very tiny.
yeah, he's gonna have to put on some weight, but they'll get him the weight room. But it's also a great spot for him. It's not like he's gonna kind of just be. I'd imagine his role the first year or two is just gonna be a spark plug, come off the bench guy, kind of cook, get some buckets, and when he's on, when he catches fire, he's gonna have games where he lights it up. The Kentucky guard thing makes me feel pretty good that it's gonna work out. I thought the Wolves were a big winner. I didn't understand that trade at all from the Spurs. Now, me and my buddy, because I was watching the draft with, and we were looking it up, and I guess it makes sense. The theory is that, like, one, it's just a bad draft, and they're like, we really want to take two guys from this draft super high. And because obviously these 20, 30, 31 picks don't help you build around Wemby when Wemby's already good right now. But the idea
Well,
that they're just stockpiling assets for trades when the next guy they want becomes available, which makes sense. So I mean, if
yeah.
that in high, like it could work out, I didn't love it immediately because man, as I saw how good Wemby was, and I saw what that Spurs team is, and I liked when they first drafted him, and it thought that they were getting Rob and Castle. I thought that was a great night for the Spurs to get Rob who can shot make, hit threes, a Castle who can basically do everything but shoot. I thought the Spurs would have been a big winner. I didn't love that. I don't get that trade for the Spurs. And I don't know if you saw, PFT had the joke on Twitter last night during the debates. I'm not going to get into politics, but obviously wasn't great. Didn't make you feel great about the country. So PFT during the debates quoted like the Woj tweet from the trade and said, T-Wolves fleeced them. We're not making it to 2031. So, like, who knows? Yeah, 2031 is so far away. That was just unreal. So, congrats to the Wolves, man. That was awesome. And the other thing, yes, it's a bad draft, so the cost was low to get up that high and get the eighth pick versus like the eighth pick last year or next year would probably cost you a lot more than that. But like the other thing, one, they traded picks in the Gobert deal, but with Anthony Edwards on the team, the T-Wolves aren't going to have any more top 10 picks in theory for a long time. So
Yeah.
to be able to get a guy who could end up being one of the best players in this weird draft for that price, I think is a great move.
Yeah, I mean, and especially, I really like the part where you were talking about him coming off the bench. Imagine him with Nas Reed, man. That's just gonna be
Yeah.
a work of art. It's gonna be a
And
walking work of art.
and by the way, couldn't ask for a better point guard to sit and learn behind than Mike Conley, who's been in the get to come off the bench for Mike Conley. Just if Rob
Yes.
Cunningham just gets to spend just every waking moment watching how Mike Conley has been in the league since what like '08 or something, just getting to see
Nicest guy.
how he prepares, how he works out, how he runs the offense, how he tries to play his role. I mean, that's perfect. I think it's
Also a small guy.
yeah, exactly. You're right. So yeah, Rob Dillingham, I think, couldn't have asked for a better landing spot. It's weird
I'm
moving
just,
Spurs, but
I mean, my thing
uh,
is I fear, the only thing is you have to fear that the Wolves might have stockpiled power for the Spurs in the future if this Wemby thing actually pans out. And it very likely could. So I'm here to say if the Wolves just ended up fueling that fire in the future and Anthony Edwards is stuck there in Minnesota in 2030, dear God, I hope he stays for that long. Um, and he has to face a superpower of Wemby and whoever we just gave him, that'd be a nightmare scenario. But right now, Colby, right now, it's awesome. Let's just say that. This is good. We got to cash in while we got it. I'm right there with this Wolves aggressiveness. I love it. Love Tim Conley. I don't know if I said that enough yet. Love Tim Conley. Give
he's
him that
done
stat.
a great job for the franchise. As my camera went out here, continued technical issues. But okay, so we can go back through the rest of the top of the draft here. I guess we already did the Reese Shea thing. Sar goes to the Wizards. There was some people were banging on Sar a little bit for some things that because he didn't work out for Atlanta and some other things like that. Just talking about he's kind of had chosen the easy path sometimes, which is when you look at where he's played throughout his career. There are definitely some concerns, but I think the defensive upside is still so high with the athleticism. He's still super young. Listen, the offensively, he might be pretty much just a zero this first year unless the shot comes around. I mean, he'll be able to catch lobs. He's never really had a real point guard, and they did get Malcolm Brogdon. So I thought the Wizards actually had a good night as draft night as well. I thought them and Portland made a trade that was pretty mutually beneficial. Um, so yeah, I think it's
Look, Sar going at number two.
yeah, go ahead.
He's also coming in. Yeah, he's also coming in to help out with I forgot what that other rookie's name that's from France, but they got the double Frenchman going
Koulibaly.
on there. Yeah,
Koulibaly,
there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, they got some
Mbale, but I'm actually intrigued that you said that you liked the Portland Blazers trade because I thought there was one thing that you liked about the Wizards team, and that was Dingy.
yeah,
And
that's what yeah.
he's gone. He's
Yeah.
gone now.
Well, because
So
I
now it's
just
just
think
the Frenchman show.
I like it for him because I just think he's a lot closer to being able to help. Now, listen, the Blazers are bad too, but
Yes.
I just think it's a better fit for him still. The Blazers still have much more talent than the Wizards, and like I don't know, like I just kind of felt like he's not like a build around piece, but he's an excellent piece for a good team. But I just think when you're as bad as the Wizards are, it makes sense to operate with the strategy of just get more picks. They turn them into more picks down the road. They get the Brogdon deal. Maybe they'll flip him to something else expiring. I love it for Portland. Love what Portland may have been the biggest winner of draft night for me. They're up there. I thought they had a great night with how things fell for them, and that trade was excellent for them. I love Denny's just the type of player they need.
Oh, Denny, sorry.
And they got Brogdon out of there to clear more touches for Scoot, Sharp, and Simons. Um, but I mean, I just think the Wizards have to be in. They're in the early stages of a rebuild. They don't have one for sure keeper yet. You hope Koulibaly is. I think Koulibaly will be something. We'll see how good he becomes, but I do like a lot of what he does with the defense and the athleticism. And I like Sar. There's upside, but it's going to take some time. And I like the kid they got at 14 from Pitt, Bub Carrington. But he's the youngest player in the draft. He's a crafty shooter. He's got nice touch. He handles it well. I think he could be a very good NBA guard someday, but he's going to need to develop. So look, they're going to be horrendous again. It's going to be all about giving the young guys touches, giving Sar touches. How many minutes can Bub Carrington get? And I believe Dylan Jones, I think, was the guy they got in the 20s. But they're doing what they should. And I think the upside for Sar is very high. Now, it's Washington, so it might not work. And he has Jordan Poole and, well, Brogdon, I guess, will be the point guard now. But he doesn't have the greatest guards setting the table for him. But Washington, it's going to be another painful couple years, but I feel like they at least have a plan that makes sense that I can get my head around. So we'll see. Now that it all comes down to now, do they end up hitting the draft picks? Did they hit Sar? Will they hit their future draft picks? But I think they make sense what they're doing. So I liked their night as well.
All right, that's fair. I mean, look, I think it's just a tough gig when you talk about the Wizards. I have this NBA trade machine up. Yes, it is true that Denny is a better spot in Portland, but dang, man, it's going to be a rough gig. And you completely danced around the topic of Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma.
Kuzma, I would imagine, isn't going to spend. You think Kuzma's going to be on the Wizards the rest of that contract? I bet he'll be on a new team. Maybe this summer.
Who's going to pay him that? Who wants to pay him that salary, Colby? After seeing what he has produced on the Wizards, who's going to pay him?
Still a quality player, though. If he's like your third or fourth guy, someone will trade for him. He's not like Jordan Poole. He does some questionable things, and I don't love Kuzma, but I like him. And I mean, I've seen him be a real contributor on a champion. Jordan Poole.
Same thing with Jordan Poole.
That's you know what? That's a great counter. That's a great comeback. Good, fair point. But Jordan Poole is a different player now than he's just gone so much. Whatever has happened with him and Draymond, and he's just gone off the deep end as a player. I mean, he just does foolish things. Kuzma, I think,
they gave him the ball.
Kuzma is a better player now than he was on the Lakers. He's Kuzma. At the end of the day, listen, man. People are always gonna if you are big. Kuzma's not some great defender, obviously, but he's not like a terrible defender. If you have size and you can spot up and hit threes at a high level, there's always gonna be teams will always want you. Like that's just the way the game is. You see, oh my God, could you imagine? We'll get to my biggest loser of the draft in a second, but there are plenty of teams that would love to have the shooting that Kyle Kuzma can provide. So Kuzma will eventually get dealt. Poole, I'll give you that one. That's tough. But listen, I'm trying to be positive for the Wizards because it's bleak. Wizards fans, they've had a rough go of it for pretty much since the 70s.
That's a long time, Colby. I think that's pretty much their whole existence.
Yeah.
Well, let's go. I'm tired of defending the Poole boys. All right, let's go ahead and move on around the Wizards at least.
Yeah,
we gave them enough spotlight time. So number 3, who was in everything? We already talked about number 2 and number 1. Number 3, Mr. Reed Shepherd, another Kentucky guard, Colby. I mean, come on. we got enough time to talk about him. And the best part about this, the way we like it, he can control all that offensive firepower, I guess is the nice way to say it.
Yeah. So I know I had said I loved Shepard to the Rockets. I believe you did as well. I mean, we were on that. I think to be fair, most people were on this. Like, this is a dream come true for the Rockets at 3. Like everyone said, like the Rockets were going to trade this pick. And listen, we all know it's obviously out there that they want to acquire a star, which I think is a little. I don't actually think they should do anything if I was them, but so maybe Reed Shepard does end up getting traded in whatever big deal they end up making. But for the moment,
Oh,
this is awesome. I mean, I love Shepard. He probably I feel the safest about him of anyone in the draft. I don't know that he'll be the best player, but I feel confident he's going to be a good player. I think just the combination of his shooting, passing, he's pretty athletic. He's not like a Duncan Robinson, obviously. Um, he can handle it, and he's crafty with the steals. He's going to get hunted a little on defense, probably, but that's also why the Rockets are perfect for him because they have Thompson, they have Dylan Brooks, they have um what's his name coming back, Tari Eason. So like the Wizards or the Rockets, well, the Rockets will have people that can help cover Shepard's weaknesses. And
Sengun.
that's what they need. Shingun, Jabari's a great defender down low. So I love this pick for the Rockets, man, and I can't wait to see Houston. I don't think should try to trade chase some star. We'll talk about the other
Oh, we should hold that one. You
on the
should hold
next
that
meeting,
thought, Colby.
but
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they should do that.
All right, Colby. So thanks to that accursed Zoom 1 ending, we got our back here on Zoom 2. And like I was saying, hold that thought because I was actually texting one of our good friends and recent fan champion,
Oh,
James.
yeah,
He, the Boston Celtics fan in him, actually he was very interested in this draft. And so it was very cool to pick his brain about some of these questions. And he actually was right there with you initially, right there with you, Colby. He said the same thing. He thought that they have a good young core and everything. But I did pitch this one thought there, Colby. Um, and when we get to free agency talk, we got to toss this name up again. But for folks at home, just keep this in mind. What if they got BI? What if they found a way to put BI into the equation, and then somehow kept this Reed Shepard kid? I think that'd be for some pretty aggressive offense there. It would be pretty nasty.
yeah. So I think Bi makes sense there, and I like that more because you're not going to have to give up like the rumors out there. I believe the three they've said it's like Durant, Booker, Zion. I saw today. Like they need to uh they need to slow their roll a little bit. The Durant thing makes no. I don't really understand the Durant thing, and that obviously started because they questionably gave Brooklyn their picks back for the two Phoenix picks and a swap, like for some of the Phoenix picks, um, so that they to be able to try to entice the Suns to trade them Durant at some point. I just don't like Ingram. I would think would make more sense because he's obviously way younger. He's older than their core guys. He would fit the timeline more. Um, I mean, he needs to improve in there's certain things he has to improve on as a player, for sure. There's a reason why his stock is not as high as it once was. I mean, he was an all-star, just like 2 years ago or something, if I remember correctly. Um, he's not the defender he needs to be, and he's one of those guys where like he just shoots not as many threes as you think he should. He's kind of and like I like the mid-range game. It's obviously important. I'm not one of those guys that's like never shoot him. I'm not a never shoot a mid-range jumper guy, but if you can shoot threes, you should be shooting more threes than mid-range jumpers. So I think there's certain things that make him a weird fit, but I think Houston could make sense for him. Like I said, we can play Fi to BI team if you have any other ones. I know, I forget the other one I threw out there. Philly. Philly would be a
It's
perfect
Philly.
fit. The problem with Philly is they currently only have like 4 guys under contract. They're gonna have to fill their team out through free agency. I don't know that they have the means to trade for him at the moment. Um, Houston would be interesting, but I don't know, man. If I was Houston, though, probably the smart play is to just not rush it. and just try to take another incremental step forward this year. It's another year of Jalen Green finishing the year the way he did, adding Reed Shepard, who might be the best player in the draft, and that fits perfectly. If Van Fleet's still starting and Green is starting in the backcourt, and maybe Green will be like a small ball three, but I don't really see that. Um, you're off the bench, probably backcourt is going to be Amen Thompson and Reed Shepard. I mean, that is dynamic because Reed Shepard is great at the things that Amen Thompson has as weaknesses, and Amen Thompson is great at the thing Reed Shepard has as weaknesses. That's why I love this pick most of all for Houston. I really liked how Thompson finished the year after a slow start. And Reed Shepard, question marks. Defense is a little small. Amen Thompson is 6'6", an insane defender, hyper athletic. Amen Thompson, problem, he can't shoot the ball at all. No jumper whatsoever. Reed Shepard, one of the best shooting prospects to come out in the last decade. If you look at the numbers, his shooting numbers are insane. So I just think it's a perfect fit. And I would just want to see what all these guys look like if I'm Houston. Now, maybe, and it goes bumpy, that's when you trade for someone like a BI. If they might not all fit. Like, if there's a lot of young guys they're developing at once. So that would be the other flip side of it as to why a BI trade might make sense. BI would be fine with, like I said, because you obviously have to give up some of these guys, but I don't think you're going to have to give up the farm for Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, I don't think you will and everything. I think especially after you saw how the trade market just went down for what's his name, DeJounte Murray. I think it's
Yeah.
and the fact that Brandon Ingram has been saying if this is true that he wants to be out, then that means it should be
Pelicans,
easier
I
for
think,
him.
want to get rid of him, too.
Maybe. I don't see how he's that undesirable. I mean, I don't want him on my team because my team's good, but he can go somewhere. I think he can definitely bring value to someone.
Let's give me some names. Who? I feel like we could find some other ones. So, because we're definitely some. I think Miami would fit.
That's what I said too.
Move off Jimmy.
I know it's a joke to always say Miami, but I mean
There's a
it
reason.
actually could work. I think Miami would definitely work. I was
And
saying that you toss Jimmy Butler in that trade just because you already want to get rid of him, sounds like. So you might as well send him to New Orleans and just let him have fun with that.
that'd be fascinating.
That's what I say. That's what
I don't
I
know if
say.
I would do. I'd rather. If I was New Orleans, I would be like, "What's up with that? Give me some Jaime Jaquez, Khalil Ware picks, maybe."
Oof, oof, oof.
I don't
Oh
think
no, I think Jaime is untouchable, man.
probably, or maybe Hero, and something else.
Hero would probably be dealable. I could definitely see Hero being dealable.
I don't know.
I'm trying to see my options here. I did say the Shadow Realm teams, um,
That'd be
which
sad.
are that's the Hornets and Blazers.
Hornets. If the Hornets would have drafted someone else, that would have made sense. But now that they have Saloon and Miller, I don't know about Ingram. Maybe I wouldn't hate the Hornets.
James also mentioned the Philadelphia Sixers.
Makes sense. If he was a free agent, that'd be a lock probably. Um, what about the Warriors? People rumor the Warriors for Paul George. I don't know. Ingram's a little younger, although I don't know. He doesn't fit exactly perfectly with what they do either. And I don't know what that.
Players need to figure out what they're doing with Clay first. Are they actually
I
going to
think
pay
Clay's
this
out
man?
the
Can they
door.
let him go?
Clay's going to be on the Magic, I think, in about a few
You and
months.
him, you and
Dude,
James
Clay
are on
has
the
a
same
market.
instant trade waiver.
I mean, it just makes sense. Like the Magic have a ton of money and they need shooting. Magic or Sixers, I'm guessing. One of those teams I think Clay will be on. That would be my
If
guess.
I had to choose between the two, I would say probably the Magic because it's closer to the Bahamas, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and say that.
Then one
Keep
other
that warm
team does
weather.
make sense for BI. I mean,
It's hard market.
what
It's a
about the
tough market.
Spurs? Maybe the Spurs?
No.
I don't know if how the spacing would work with him and Castle. Yeah, maybe not the Spurs. What about
It would even work with the Jazz.
well, the Jazz don't want to do that anyway. The Jazz want to suck.
Exactly.
You're right. I mean, there's not a lot of spots. I still think
Yeah, let's go to the shadow realm, man.
Cleveland, I think, could work a little. I think Cleveland could be interesting. I don't know what that trade looks like now. Maybe that's the Jared Allen trade because New Orleans could certainly use a big center. Jared Allen. I mean, if I'm Cleveland though, like Jared Allen, I would imagine has more value than Ingram. At
That's what I was saying,
time.
thinking a little bit.
So that's
Yeah.
saying I'm gonna need something else if I'm Cleveland. Brandon Ingram and something else. I think that could work.
That would be a stretch, though. And then if I'm the New Orleans Pelicans, like Brandon Ingram did do a lot this season. Gotta remember that. I think he does
Yeah.
bring a lot of offense and everything. I feel like it might be a little bit of a stretch to call Jared Allen more of a star than Brandon
I'm
Ingram.
not saying he's
He
more of
might
a
be
star.
just a little too.
I think it's fair to say. I think Jared Allen has right now, even though I think I agree with what you're saying, like Brandon Ingram, when he's at his best, the stuff he does better, you would value more. But I think Allen's stock is higher right now because Ingram is kind of a streaky. He's a little more. He's been up and down throughout his career. Allen, I know exactly what he is. He's consistent. He's gonna be an
Mhm.
elite rim protector and elite rebounder. He's not gonna do much else, but he's gonna be incredible at those things. So I think
Yeah.
Allen would have more value, I would imagine.
Yeah. I can't believe I just actually went against one of my favorite players in
It's
Jared
fair.
Allen.
I
I
mean,
can't
an
believe that.
argument you were saying makes sense, and I do think like the best version of Ingram, I would say, is better, but I don't think he's been the best version of himself, at least not this past year. It was weird for it got weird for him.
So, Colby, let's wrap up this draft stuff, man. Is there anybody else that you
Gotta
want to
start
talk about? Because it
fast.
seems like we're ready to go into some free agency.
Sorry, I gotta go faster. Yeah, there was some other draft stuff I wanted to hit. The
I
we
know we had a lot. There was a lot planned. I mean, I want you to take a hand with this, but I got two people on the waiver wire. All right, two people. We're gonna do this just like last week, where
okay,
I got a list, and I want to see how long it takes and if you even cover them.
okay,
Okay,
all right. I like.
so let's
So
see how many takes you want to give yourself. How many takes you think you got left on this draft?
I'll just give you some more rapid fire here. We already talked. I'm just gonna go through the order real quick, like the top. Not
All
the
right,
whole
I'm
thing,
sitting back.
not the whole thing, just like the top, like the lot of it.
Just take the
So
ones that pique your interest. Yeah, go through the ones that pique your
so
interest and everything.
or Castle to the Spurs, I think is a good pick. I get it. Safety can be a great defender. He like I said, he does pretty much everything but shoot. Um, so I totally get that. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't think it was an incredible pick, but I liked it. The biggest loser of the draft to me, far, was number 5. Those poor Detroit Pistons, who once again,
Dude, don't get me
who
started.
once
I
again,
thought I was going to sit
and
back.
it's the same thing that you would have said about every single one of these guys who they pick. They've picked the last couple years, which is the crazy part. I don't think it's crazy to take Ron Holland at 5, who they took. I think he was a top high school guy. People thought he would be him or Buzelis #1 going into the year, and they both had rough years in the G League. I thought Buzelis would go before him. We'll get to him.
Another guard.
If,
I mean,
if
that's why I text. Did I text you that? No,
Charlotte, yeah. Well,
I
he's
texted
not a
you.
guard at least. He's a wing, which they need. He's like 6'8", 6'9". I mean, he's like a forward, 6'7", 6'8". He's gonna be on the wing, but
Okay.
but he can't shoot. The biggest thing, his biggest issue is that he can't shoot. If he would have got picked by Charlotte, I would have liked that. If he would have got picked by Washington, I would have said this is a little high for me. I would have understood it. Or, whoever else was in this draft if you go down. But the fact that Detroit got another just non-shooter is crazy. What is this team going to be? They have to trade, like, they're going to have to trade some of these guys. It just does not make any sense. They're
So it's
four
going to be someone that we like too. That's the problem. It's going to be someone that we like, and we're going to be sitting here like, why did they do this?
of the 5 most pivotal pieces of their rebuild that they're building around. Only Cade can shoot, and he's not been as good a three-point shooter as you would have hoped. Ivy is
Yeah.
not a good shooter. Thompson can't shoot. This kid they just drafted, Holland, can't shoot. And Jalen Duren is center. You don't really expect him to be a shooter, but he also can't shoot. So it's just incredible. Like, I thought for sure they would pick Buzelis when the draft fell the way it did. So they were the biggest losers.
I'm right there with you, man. Can't believe it. Really can't believe it. I mean, I was disappointed in the Pistons pick as well. No, hands down, I'm right there with you.
All right. Number six, the Hornets. I didn't love it but I totally understood it. Saloon, the third French guy, three French guys in the top six, which is crazy. Um, he's the high upside swing. He's freaky athletic. He's big. He's tall. He plays hard. If you're betting on someone to be like the Giannis of this draft, like Giannis was in his terrible draft, you would say I guess, has the best. He would be the guy that you would say. I think the upside is crazy. There's also just a chance it doesn't work at all and he flames out. His skills are not there yet. In theory, if he pans out, he will fit, I think, with LaMelo and Brandon Miller. It'd be a great piece for Charlotte. But I would have really liked for them to add another guard with LaMelo's injuries. Also, the top guards were gone, so it was kind of a tough spot, but interesting.
Keep rapid fire, Kobe. You can keep your rapid fire.
All right, seven. I said Portland. I thought was a huge winner. Getting Klingon to fall to them. They need defense, rim protector. DeAndre Ayton ain't it. So I thought that's great, and I love the Avdia trade for them. Like I already said, that was just classic case where this safest player probably in the draft, or one of the two safest, falls right to you. You feel great. Number nine, the Zach Edey thing was the shot.
There we go.
I mean that, and I thought he should have gone. Like I would have picked him if I was OKC. I don't think it's completely crazy. Zach Edey won me over a little bit this year. Um, but yeah, I was stunned he went nine because he also isn't normally the type of player Memphis wants. But I totally get it, and I think the upside of it is actually pretty high because Triple J in theory covers his weaknesses defensively with the ranging and the rim protection, and he helps Triple J, who just this poor guy has no help down there on the inside on the boards on the Grizzlies. So I like the fit. I think it works probably, but just the fact that they took him at nine was very surprising. But I understand it, and I think it's about one of as good a situation as he could ask for because his now they play fast, which is a little weird, but the fact that he's be playing with Triple J is like perfect. That's the kind of guy you have to cover the fact that Edey is going to be played off the floor sometimes with the movement and the spacing. Because you can just allow him to drop, I like it.
Yeah. And on top of that, I feel like like you said, yeah, they're going to be a fast-paced team, but he also fits that characterization of them being pretty physical. Like how they used to play pretty good defense. I feel like he can fill that spot with JJ and everything, Triple J, sorry. So yeah, I really do think that'll be a good idea. If John Morant's there, they can make some crazy highlight plays, man. That would be insane to watch. So watch out in the interior, like you were saying. I'm right there with you. I thought it was just interesting how high he went. I expected him to fall to OKC as well, personally, because they needed a big man and everything. They needed height. So I thought, hey, 1 and 1 equals 2, 1 + 1 = 2. But over here for the Grizzlies, it's more or less like, huh, it's a surprisingly good thing. It's more of a surprisingly good thing. And the sad part about it is it's in the West, God damn it. And that's the bad thing about it.
The
It's
West
happening in the West. So
yeah,
you're like, it's like, man, yeah, that is a great job for the Memphis. Like they did a really good pick there and everything. And the coach Zach Taylor's gonna go off with it. I mean, Zach Taylor, God damn it. But I feel so bad. I just said Zach Taylor. The coach of the Grizzlies.
yeah. Oh, Taylor Jenkins.
Taylor Jenkins. Okay, I'm not.
Elite
I'm
coach.
halfway there. Halfway there. I was
Easily a
halfway
top
there.
10 coach in the league. He's very
He
underrated.
is. Yeah, that's why I feel very embarrassed because I knew he deserved more respect than that. Anyways, so Taylor Jenkins, he's a really good coach, so I think he's gonna have fun with this player. Go shout out Zach Edey. So yeah,
All
great
right.
piece.
Yeah, I
Big
love
man.
just a couple more and then we're done. The Cody Williams next pick to the Jazz, whatever. I'm not as big Cody Williams believer, but it's an upside swing. The last thing I want to rant on, and then there's just a couple, I'll just mention a few names briefly. Buzelis was my guy. I claimed him
Yeah.
I planted my flag on the last episode. I said I think he could be the best player in this draft. Falls to 11 with the Bulls. I was stunned. I felt so dumb because my buddy from work, I'm sitting here with my friend, and I'm like, every pick, I'm like, oh man, they gotta pick Buzelis here. Basically, from like 4 on, after the Spurs pick on, I was like, this has to be Buzelis. You kidding me? Every time, I just became more and more perplexed. Falls to Chicago. Pressure. Listen, he's not quite there as a shooter yet, but I think he's had some success in high school shooting it. I think there's reason to believe he will develop a shot. He's going to need to that he's now since he's now playing with he be playing with Josh Giddey. Um,
Yeah.
but I like Buzelis, man. So I think Bulls are a big winner just solely because I like this kid so much. I'll stick with him. He's my guy. If he flames out, whatever. He's from Chicago. He grew up in
There
Chicago.
you go. Yeah.
Hometown kid. Even though his parents from Lithuania, but grew up in Chicago. Uh, it's going to be very interesting to see. And the Bulls, man, if they actually do the right thing and continue to blow up their team, and like don't re-sign DeRozan. I don't know if you find anyone to take Levine, but man, I would try. Um,
Good luck.
I like
Probably just as challenging as BI. Yeah.
I like the trio of Giddey, White, and Buzelis as your building blocks for a rebuild. Those are some nice pieces. If Buzelis becomes a jumper, I think it'll be perfect.
And Vukovic,
Biggest pressure.
Colby.
Huh?
You know he's not going anywhere. Don't forget Vukovic. He's not going anywhere.
He's 32. He's going to be going somewhere eventually.
You'd hope. You'd hope too. You can't forget that man is still wandering around as well. What could have been for the Bulls? I mean, what could have been? But they took so long. And now here we are, wondering when they're going to trade Zach LaVine. Like I said, I think it's going to be just as challenging, Colby, for them to figure that out.
I don't know. Dude, we're talking about finding a team for BI. It's a team for Levine. I don't know that anyone wants him.
I don't even think the Wolves want him back.
No. Why would they? No. Who would that be?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Tough. It's a tough world out here, man. It's a tough world.
My guy,
Yeah, anyways.
he fell. You're right. It is a tough world.
But I did love the pick, though. I will say this. I did love the pick of him going to Chicago. I was surprised that he fell as well. But him going to Chicago when they announced that that's where he's from, I was like, oh, that's hype.
He's
and
also,
everything.
yeah, he's a rangy athlete. He's going to be able to defend. I think the upside is pretty high on Buzelis. And he's now going to have a chip on his shoulder. He's already a little bit of a shit talker. I don't know if you saw, but like, apparently, like I guess it was I assume it was at the either at the combine or at some pre-draft thing a while back. He basically challenged Riza Shea to play one-on-one, and they're like, no, not playing one-on-one.
Smart.
He was the best player in the draft. Riza Shea goes number 1. Buzelis goes 11. I don't know. I think he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder. So, love that for Chicago. They're in an interesting.
He should be a Wolf. He sounds like he should be a Wolf, honestly. But anyways, great pick for Chicago, honestly. Great for him to fall to them, like you were saying.
Yeah. So, and then I'll just finish out quick. The next pick was Topic to OKC. I like Topic a lot. He's obviously going to miss the whole next year with an ACL. I was hoping Utah for him. I felt like that would have made sense for them. OKC's
they made another
scary when he gets there, but I mean, it's what they do, I guess. I would have still rather they took big. Next pick, maybe my favorite pick of the draft, or as far as fit, Devin Carter going to the Kings. He is just what the doctor ordered in theory, if he is what everyone thinks he's going to be. He's NBA ready, played 4 years. He's an elite defensive guard. That's what he projects to be. That's what they need is defense. He's in theory what they would hope Davion Mitchell would be from Baylor when they picked him a few years ago, except I think Carter is far more developed as an offensive player, where Mitchell was just basically small and kind of a zero on the offensive end, so they had to bail on him. So I love that pick. I talked about Bub. Kel'el Ware I liked to the Heat. I'm sure that'll work. McCain, the guy who cooked JMU, going to Philly at 16, I think makes perfect sense for them. Just get a shot maker off the bench. I like that. And then, of course, yeah, the steal. The Lakers getting connected is a huge steal. I thought he could have gone as high as 5. I would rather the Pistons have picked him than Ron Holland, if I'm being honest, which I understand why they wouldn't that high, but still. It's a great fit for the Lakers. It's perfect, and they also got Bronny in the second round. Shocker. So there you.
Shocker, right? Yeah, breaking news.
Oh, and I love the Nuggets pick, but from Dayton to Ron Holmes the third. But I'm obviously very biased.
Well, I also love my team's final pick as well, as controversial as it was. And I even mentioned it on the podcast, which made me even happier. And that was Terrence Shannon and everything
Yeah,
from Illinois. I was very surprised that we actually picked him and everything. He beat the case, supposedly.
he did.
But
Yeah, he's found innocent.
yeah, so here we are. He's a wolf, and if he's another scoring option, I'm all for it. He was very effective at Illinois. I'm excited. Like I said, this is the pick that I was more or less wanting to talk about because with him and Dillingham, he's just more of a bigger body. He looks like he's more ready to attack the hoop than
And he's
Dillingham, but Dillingham has a certain skill set,
yeah,
so it's just pretty cool. I think the Wolves addressed their needs, and I thought that was pretty cool to have competent leadership in the front office. I really enjoy that.
yeah, that was a great night for the Wolves, I think. And Shannon, like you said, he's a 4 year guy, so he's older. He should be, in theory, more ready to play right away. Um, I mean, the Wolves are a good team, so it's gonna be tough for a rookie to get minutes, but still, um, yeah, I thought it was a great night for the Wolves. You're absolutely, and props to you for calling pick 27 in the NBA, Jalen, is no small feat. That's pretty good. So shout out to you
I
for
was
calling
pretty happy.
this draft. Nice. How about you nailing that one? Out of boy. That's a heck of a call.
Also, we mentioned this at the last moment. I said Bronny would go at 54 instead of 55. I was one off. I don't know how I thought of 54, but I was just one off. I
I
don't know
wish
why.
someone would have taken him to mess with the Lakers, man, but no one, everyone's scared of Rich Paul.
Probably. I mean, rightfully so. He said that he would play in Australia or something like that if that was the case.
Well, that's
So
not. Well, that's they're just mad. They just won't do it because Rich Paul has so many other clients, like of other players. They don't want to piss off.
it's also true. That's also true. There's so many layers to this, Colby. So many layers. But I was about to say pretty good draft in my opinion. We got a lot. We got a lot to cover there, and even seeked into NBA free agency, which instantly kicked off. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean right off
well,
the
free
bat.
agency
So
hasn't even officially begun. It's just been
yes, they're just official rumors, and just official. Let me
feeling,
see
feeling.
here. Wonder if there's a free agency tracker here.
Well, no, I'm saying the no one can sign. You can only re-sign your own guys right now. Um, but it's just been these crazy trades. So, do you want to? All right. So, how do you want to do this here? Because obviously, the teams we have to talk about both play in New York City, and they were both responsible for the trade that stunned us a few nights ago.
Ah,
When Mikal Bridges forced his way to New York to
forced.
play with his buddies, complete the Villanova, uh, complete the Villanova squad,
The Nova Knicks.
the final stone in the Infinity Gauntlet, the final boss for Tom Thibodeau. He's played like 500 straight games or something.
Damn
Tibbs
it.
is just a sicko.
He is. He is. I know he's plotting.
And the
You know
Nets
he's plotting.
are literally just a Boyan Bogdanovich salary filler and 5 picks, or is it 4 in a swap or something? But basically 5 first round picks. So which side of this do you want to do first? Do you want to go the glorious title hunting Knicks or the laughable bad, but also did the smart thing for the once Brooklyn Nets?
How about,
We have to
man,
give the Nets their flowers at some point because of
yes,
we've yelled at them so much. So I think
backing
we have to give them flowers.
you're backing me into a corner here, man. I really hope that their plan is not to, not to do this to my boy Cam Johnson. But if he looks like Cam Johnson might be their guy, I hope that's not the plan.
No, I bet he will get traded too.
I
It's
pray that he gets
Cam
traded. That's
Thomas,
all I want
though.
to say. I hope what I
Cam
want to say for the
Thomas.
Nets is I hope they continue this. I hope they continue this trend and get rid of Cam Johnson and everything. I hope they find a way to do that because then they can get some more value. I mean, they got 5 picks from Mikal Bridges, Colby. 5 picks. And yeah, sure, they're all a bunch of futures, but that's a lot. And you were talking about how much it actually upstarts their organization again because they're back on par from what they did with KD. So it's really interesting, man, how much it really jump-started their organization right off the bat because they dealt their picks to the Rockets or something like that to get even. So it's really cool. I'm right there. I mean, like I said, as long as they keep doing this, I'm all for it. That's what I'm here for. As long as they can get rid of Cam Johnson, all for it. So, because we all know you can't really get rid of Ben Simmons. So,
Well,
yeah.
Contour. They can
Huh?
get rid of Ben Simmons,
Really?
percent, because his contract is now expiring. Ben Simmons
Okay.
is going to be a positive trade asset this year. Not
No way.
not because
That might
he
be your
wants him,
biggest and boldest take yet,
not
Colby.
because anyone wants him, but because he makes like $40 million. And so
Where's my sticky notes at?
if you have, for instance, let me explain. You can't quote this as if it makes it seem like people are trying to get Ben Simmons. But he has $40 million expiring. In the NBA for these trades, you have to match salary. So if you have, I don't know, foolishly given Zach LaVine a 5-year, $200 million contract and are thinking to yourself, I sure wish I could have that one back. In theory, you could say, hey, Nets, we'll give you Zach LaVine and like a young guy or a pick for that expiring money. So, and if you eat our Zach LaVine contract, the Nets are now in the business when teams blow it up like this and go full tank mode. They're going to be looking to get people's bad contracts to also get their picks and or young guys or whatever.
Okay.
So like
You're
Ben,
making a good case. I'm
someone,
still writing it down, but I'm
someone,
writing your reasoning.
someone will flip Ben's. Someone will basically take get Ben Simmons expiring so they can get off of a bad contract that's has more years on.
Okay, cool. It is a bold take, but still definitely noteworthy. I mean, Ben Simmons being a valuable trade at one of the top valuable trade assets of
Not one of the
2024.
top, but if I just said a positive trade asset.
All right, I'll even add a positive to that. I'll even add for the Nets, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, that makes it a little bit sweeter. Let me make sure I clear this up. All right, positive, and then for the Nets.
yeah. So
That makes it a little bit nicer, yes.
yeah, and obviously the most listen. If you would have told the Nets a few years ago, could you imagine like Jalen going back 5 years, just or however many years ago? In within 5 years, Nets, you just got Katie and Kyrie when the Knicks wanted them. You're gonna take New York, blah 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 blah. 5 years later, not only did you not do any of that, and it all blew up in your face horribly, but your best player is forcing his way to the Knicks, who have now completely restored and are now the most popular and beloved they've been in years. They are third in the title odds after this. They traded this deal and got Anunoby back. Um,
Are they behind Kobe?
the Celtics and the Nuggets, the last two champs.
And who's the one right underneath the Knicks?
The Wolves, they're ahead of the Wolves.
There they are. I didn't know they passed us. That's
Yeah, they
why I thought
passed you. They're
third, but they
third.
passed us. Damn, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
they have the third highest title odds.
That really breaks my heart. Actually, that is surprising. That's a
That
later
shot they've
debate.
had since June.
That's gonna be a later debate for sure.
But yeah, so that's just
I
a
do
wild.
think for the Knicks side of this, I do think this trade makes them more of a Celtics threat. I think they're the biggest Celtics
Oh
threat.
yeah,
I 100% agree with the odds. I do think they're automatically the Celtics' biggest threat. The Heat are behind them now, and they don't have to worry about the Heat. It's definitely this. It's definitely the Knicks, um,
yeah.
unless the
See what
Bucks
happens.
figure it out.
We'll see what happens with Milwaukee. And if Philly actually does get someone of importance with this cap space, maybe I'm not going to hold my breath because Philly doesn't has certainly not earned the benefit of the doubt.
Nope.
But listen, they're going to be around. It feels like the Knicks honestly could be a situation. Do they not feel a little T Wolves of the East in that you built your team just to perfectly be the top dog in the conference? Maybe they do it, and then the next round they have to play a worse matchup, and it doesn't. We'll see.
I'm all for that. I'm all for
Yeah,
that,
they're
honestly.
certainly they certainly match up the best with Boston in the East now, not even close.
Kobe, are we turning into NBA detectives? Did we just figure out the NBA's secret recipe for parity? Is this how they keep doing it? They just keep making teams just instantly become the greatest threats of the other one just by building them literally
Well,
by the
I mean, I
complete
don't know.
opposite.
It's 2 years. We're probably going to need a few more years than that.
I
But
mean, not more. It's more than 2 years that teams of different teams have won, Colby.
well, yeah, that's
We're
true.
gonna have to deep
Like,
dive into this.
but
This
you're
might be
talking
an interesting
about the
case.
Sun. You're just talking about the Knicks and Wolves, right? Like specifically building their teams to beat the champ. That's what we're talking
Well,
about.
that's just who we got up front. We gotta, like I said, later on, we're gonna have to dive into this. I think that's gonna be an interesting cover because the Knicks, they bring a very solid challenge. I mean,
Oh yeah, they're up there.
I'm gonna hate
Contenders for
sitting
sure.
there watch Julius Randle versus Porzingis. Good God, that is gonna be an interesting
Uh,
conference final. Conference final if I
well,
have to
let's not
watch
get
that.
ahead of ourselves. A lot can change in the NBA.
We're here for it. We're here for all the change in the NBA right now.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I guess that kind of is the Knicks side of it right there. It's unbelievable that all the Nova guys get to play together. That's so cool. Like it's wild that that just happened.
It's beautiful, honestly. It's good. It's a great story. It makes the Knicks very honestly way more entertaining because now you know they got this chemistry. They gotta figure it out. Then once they figure everything out, it's gonna be awesome.
Oh,
And the only thing that can stop them, Colby, and you mentioned it at the beginning once again, it's Thibs.
that's
The
why.
Thibs way is undefeated, dude. The Thibs way is just undefeated. Can Mikal Bridges actually beat Thibs and play every game like he has been to the max extent, which is insane already on his behalf? I hope Thibs does not wear this man into the ground, but please. That's gonna be probably one of the better storylines in my opinion, watching the Knicks. Seeing how they do against the Thibs way. I mean, you already know the starting lineup's gonna be good, so that probably will work initially. It's just once again, once we get to the playoffs, how good is it going to be?
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. My bold Knicks take, if they want to truly get over the hump and win the title, you're very right about everything you said. I may have misspoke earlier. Mikal Bridges not was actually not the final Infinity Stone. They
Oh,
it's half measure. This is not been a full measure yet. If you're gonna do this, go all the way. You go to wherever Jay Wright lives, and you throw him an insane bag to come out of retirement and coach the Knicks and coach all his guys again. Wouldn't that be
screwed
insane?
everyone else.
If if you obviously can't do it right now, you have it. Tibbs is stabilize your franchise. He deserves a lot of credit for what they've accomplished. But if you flame out now in the playoffs because your guys get hurt, because he played them the whole year, I mean, I
Every
wouldn't do
game.
it. I mean, I just think, hey, that could be. Just keep going with this Villanova thing. The final piece.
Would it really be Jay Wright? I mean, everyone says that on the internet. I thought that would be it. I mean, at first it was a good meme, but when you consider the fact that he'll probably at least consider their minutes in the playoffs if they make it to that far, it it's a really challenging argument, honestly.
I mean,
Whether it's a joke or not, like it's a really good argument just because the Thibs way is very, very you see it's a compelling. You already see the numbers. You already know what you're getting. I mean, we've seen it this season. Their players literally ran down to the wall, ran down to threads. So, yeah.
yeah, no one is like Thibs. To be fair, it probably doesn't even have to be Jay Wright. You could just get another coach, but the Jay Wright thing would be unbelievable. There we go. Slight.
Oh man.
So yeah, we
Oh,
pretty much covered most of the NBA big trades, big news. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was going to say literally those exact words, Colby. Um, it's pretty much it's that time. We finished the NBA trades. We just kick started it. I feel like all we did was just kick start it. Every time we wrap up these episodes, by the time I upload it, we always have one big trade that comes off right when we wrap things up. right when we are done, right when we publish something, something always happens. Something always happens, and we're just a second too early and everything. So I can't wait to see who that big trade's going to be. Colby, we can at least make a quick prediction. Who do you think the next big domino is going to be to fall?
That's a good one. I mean, if you consider Ingram, I know we talked about it, but like if you consider Ingram a big domino, probably him. I feel like he's
Really?
going to get traded. I mean, they basically say he's going to get traded. He doesn't fit on Pelicans the team they have anymore. So, yeah, I know we just talked about him, but I would say him. Trey Young would be a sneaky one. I think Trey Young is very possible.
I like the idea of a big domino being. I like the idea of Paul George. I
Oh,
think he should be.
okay.
Paul George. I think he might be one that might happen by the time we upload this. I can definitely see someone as annoying as him. But anyways, it would definitely not be James Harden going to Philly, right? So,
I don't think
but
so.
there will be one thing I can guarantee you, Colby, is there's going to be some final thoughts here to wrap up this episode. Go ahead and take us away. What you got for final thoughts?
Yeah, so I got a good one. So we're talking a lot about women's basketball. Our final thoughts on here: Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, the rise. But I'm gonna take it to the future, even a few more years out. We'll see if everything can work out with this. They probably have to get their bread up a little bit in the WNBA. But Jalen, have you seen these videos of Zhang Ziyu? Are you familiar with this name?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I am familiar. The
this,
ginormous
yeah,
women's basketball player in China.
yeah.
Yes.
She is 16 years old and she is 7'3".
Unstoppable.
It's
She is
crazy.
going to be unstoppable in the
It's
US.
literally the female yell. I mean, 7'3". Brittany Griner is what, like 6'8" or 6'9" or something?
Exactly, Colby. She's
Like
going to be unstoppable.
dominant at that height.
And
Like,
she's big. She got muscle on her. She
yeah,
got some muscle on her. Like
her
she's like
last game,
Jokic built.
she's 17. 2 days ago, she had 44 and 14.
It's
Uh,
insane. They just throw her the ball. Like literally, she's already in the paint. They just toss her up and she just tries to get it. She lines up for a good shot. That's all they need to do. It's easy. It's insane.
so yeah, it's
God.
unbelievable. I just discovered her recently. My final thought is WNBA. Start playing the long game now that you actually have some attention. You're trying to actually build this league. You got to do whatever it takes to get her over here. You got to do that for the international brand. It would be huge. That's unbelievable. I would love to see her out here competing against Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers down the road, Angel Reese, obviously like Aja Wilson, all the actual top level players right now. I mean, that's just unbelievable. So that's my final thought. Zhang Ziyu, incredible.
Wow. I mean, that is also an incredible final thought, Colby.
Thank you.
Um, my final thought, it would have been saved for a segment, but I think it's just more or less to be dealt now. And it'll be tied into what really hurts my heart, Colby. The NFL done it again, Cole. The NFL has done it again. They got themselves in trouble this time. Well, the NFL Sunday ticket.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if you've seen all that drama, but if your family used to have the NFL Sunday ticket, folks, you can be compensated. You will be compensated apparently. Because they overinflated their pricing. They got in trouble for inflation prices. And what this means is they might be actually following the same formulas as the MLB and all them and start outsourcing per team, which in
Wow.
my opinion is hell. So please,
Yeah, that's not
NFL,
great.
it is not great. And during this whole trial, Colby, they were outing the NFL Network quality. They were over here saying,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we paying all this money, and the broadcast was just trash. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, I hope Rich Eisen just does not take that to heart, man, because I do appreciate having Rich Eisen in the booth at least. So I mean, there was some good. I grew up on the NFL Network and Good Morning Football and all that, so it was a real surprise for me at least because my family had the Sunday ticket in the NFL Network, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of changes to the NFL Network and just how we're going to see how the Sunday ticket works out and everything. They just got bought by YouTube, so it's going to be interesting to see how teams are going to be putting up their games now. It looks like it's going to get interesting, folks. Pay attention. You might be dealing with blackouts like you deal with MLB games now before your football, unless you just stick to cable. And I mean, for those of you that stick to cable, shout out to you, right, Cole?
That's right. That was a great
Yeah,
final thought, Jalen.
it is a good final thought. I mean, you gotta keep people on edge, man. Sometimes you have to have some good news like you did, but I have to keep people on, gotta keep them on the good wire stuff, just like we have the good stuff here, right, Cole?
Absolutely.